Hello, everybody. Welcome to NASCAR Inside the Race. I am Alex Weaver, and we hope you had a great Labor Day weekend, but also a fantastic time watching the Southern 500. We saw a back-to-back winner, a lot to break down with the playoff drivers because it's official. We have made it and kicked off the 2025 NASCAR Cup Series Playoffs. I'm going to welcome in my favorite crew chief, Steve Letarte, right off the jump because we have so much to talk about. Obviously, I know he was having just an absolute holiday up there in the booth on Sunday night watching the Southern 500 at Darlington. We really got everything we could have wanted out of this race.
The Southern 500 is the absolute best way to start the playoffs. I know it wasn't a playoffs race last year, but it stayed on Labor Day weekend. This year, being in the playoffs, it was a slugfest, and I think that's what it should be. There's a lot of conversations about playoffs and qualifications on all of those. Well, I'm a traditionalist, and if you want to be the champion of NASCAR, you have to tame the toughest tracks, Darlington being one. So the slugfest was entertaining, but not everyone avoided the punches. Some threw them, some received them, and in the end, we have a jumbled up mix, which is only going to make the next two races of this round even better.
Yeah, the fellows were laboring on Labor Day weekend because it was a hard-fought battle with a lot of our playoff drivers. But the guy that, lucky for us, we're going to have him here on the show. He's going to be joining us just as soon as he hops on here on the stream. We have the back-to-back Southern 500 winner, Chase Briscoe. He is advanced to the round of 12 in the NASCAR playoffs. So we're going to break down his race with him. Also winning the Southern 500, a crown jewel in our sport, doing it once, twice for CB, but with two different owners, two different cars, two different manufacturers. We're going to break that all down. But now I get to welcome in a driver who has also had success and loves the Southern 500 race. Kyle Petty was out there in Darlington, and now he joins us here on Inside the Race. Hey, KP.
How's it going?
We're doing well. We got to watch a heck of a race on Sunday night. What'd you think of the boys down there in Darlington?
Listen, I thought it was a typical Darlington race. You go there, you never know what's going to happen. You have to race the racetrack. So many things happen so fast. And that racetrack will reach out and grab you. It reaches out and grabs you from the racetrack. It reaches out and grabs you on pit road. It doesn't make any difference. Something is always just around the corner at Darlington. And listen, I've been going there a long time. When I first started going there was a jailhouse in the middle of the infield where they would just take people that came to the racetrack when they got too intoxicated and lock them up. That's how long I've been going there. And I've seen a lot of great races, but I'm going to tell you something. This Labor Day Southern 500, this weekend's race was one of the best races I'd seen. You could throw a blanket over the top four positions as they came to the line, and that's all you can ask for from a cup race, and especially the Southern 500.
Yeah, kudos to you fans. You showed up. The grandstands looked incredible. It was some of the best weather I've ever had for a Southern 500 Labor Day weekend. It was phenomenal down there in Darlington. So the great state of California, obviously, clearly I am ready to get on my flight back
She's
home.
not biased.
The great state of South Carolina has my heart. I'm a college girl from there, so
Clemson loses. Let me just jump right into this. Clemson loses. Clemson losing. It's the great state of California. We don't even know where Clemson is anymore. Couldn't even
exactly.
Never
That's
seen
exactly
it. Probably
how it
not
goes.
in their closet anymore.
When Clemson can't beat LSU at home, then I'm ready to jump ship and head on back west because the Southern in me is just dying.
Folks. If you guys don't know Weaver, she is a Tiger through and through, and she has been feisty this morning after that performance on Saturday.
Yes,
I have some words for my old boss, Dabo Sweeney, that I would just like to say. I'm not going to say it here because I'm not allowed to say it on camera, but I can't. It was when my mother, who is also a Clemson grad, goes to bed right after halftime on the opening drive. It's not a good night for us Clemson gals.
So she went to sleep the same time their offense did.
Yes. She went to sleep the same time. The offense didn't come back out of the locker room, guys. It was just pathetic. But
I just want to take this opportunity to thank everyone who's tuned in to watching college football today. It's going to be a great, great episode today.
Yeah. Good morning, football. No, but we are going to get ready for our Southern 500 winner, Chase Briscoe, because his offense didn't slow down. He was incredible all race long. I want to read some of these stats because before we have him jump on the show here with us, we're going to talk about him positively before he comes on here. But previous 170 Cup starts, he led triple digit in 2 of those races. The best was 109 laps. He led over 300 laps last night in one of the hardest and most grueling races that we see on the schedule. It was his 4th career win, 2nd win at Darlington, both of those being crown jewels. He entered the weekend 8th. He was +4 above the cut line in the NASCAR playoffs. This one impressed me, though, the most. 8 drivers have led 200 and plus laps in the Southern 500 since 1990. Now only 2 of them have won those races. Kevin Harvick in 2014 and Chase Briscoe in 2025. History was made on Sunday night. Last time somebody's won back-to-back Southern 500s was Greg Biffle in 2025 or 2005 and 2006. So, KP, just knowing this racetrack, knowing the history of the sport, how big was Sunday night for Chase Briscoe?
Oh, it was huge. It was huge. Yeah, sometimes I think we, in this day and time in the sport, we talk about the Southern 500, but the significance of Darlington as the first major super speedway in cup racing, and you go back and you see the Fireball Roberts, you see the Junior Johnsons, the Richard Pettys, the David Pearsons, all those guys, and then you move fast forward to Jimmy Johnson and to Jeff Gordon and all the greats who have won there. Chase Briscoe put his name above a lot of those people by going back to back. And you mentioned it before, back to back with 2 different teams, 2 different manufacturers, 2 different crew chiefs, 2 different opportunities. Last year, just a team going out of business. This year, a team that's fighting for a championship and has an opportunity at it as a championship. The circumstances couldn't be any different all the way through from the A to Z. It couldn't be any different where he was this year coming in to where he was last year, and he got it done 2 years in a row. And that is impressive from a driver's standpoint. That is impressive that he adjusted and he made the best of the days, both days.
Listen, I'll expand it even more to the entire team. So if you're looking for empathy out of me because of the pressure of the stage, then you are barking up the wrong tree. Like, you've earned the opportunity to race for this. This 19 team, top to bottom, let's go through it. If you look at the 16 playoff drivers, they're 12th overall in NASCAR Insights, 9th in passing, 9th in speed, 10th in restarts, 13th in pit crew. They are mediocre in the rankings. James Small, 9 wins now as a crew chief, right? Briscoe only has 3, yet the stage was set and they became a star on the stage. They basically didn't care about the numbers. And I won't lie, even though he led all those laps, we have seen it before, and I was getting nervous for them because we have seen James Small and Martin Truex dominate and not pull off some wins. Yeah. And I just know how easy this one can go away, but it's top to bottom because I don't think some drivers made some mistakes. A lot of teams made some mistakes, but that right there was the flawless exit. If that is the 19 ceiling, man, that's a damn impressive ceiling. I mean, I think there are others that can match it eventually, but if that's what they can do, if that's the ceiling, then it's it was impressive. It was fun to watch, impressive to watch. And Reddick gave him the test. He didn't let him run away with it.
Yeah, I'm gonna say this, and you mentioned this, 9th in this category, 8th in that category, whatever it may be, 9 wins, all this stuff. I think this is, and you're exactly right. And my dad said it a million times. I'm not going to pat you on the butt and tell you did a good job. That's what you're supposed to do. But I think what this 19 team did, they dug a little bit deeper and went somewhere where they haven't been, where they haven't gone, and they made something happen that was honestly spectacular. And I think when you do that and you see a team do that, it shocks the other teams because it's like, oh my gosh, now we got to reach deep. We got to do something. Can we reach that deep? Yep. Do the other teams have the capabilities to reach that deep and come to those heights? And does this team have the opportunity to carry that momentum and carry that out for the next 9 races?
I also want to give credit to, and Steve, you mentioned the team, just this pit crew of what we saw over there on the 19, because I was looking at the pit stop times. They made 9 pit stops down on pit road. Obviously, the Southern 500 in Darlington, such a grueling place for pit crews, but has to be mistake-free. It really can cost you a lot if you make mistakes on pit road, which we're going to see from basically the rest of the playoff drivers that had issues. But for the 19 of Chase Briscoe, the longest pit stop time they had down on pit road was the very first one. It was 10 seconds even, but they clocked a 9.6, 9.6, 9.5, 9.8, 9.5, 9.9, 9.7, 9.3. Their average time spent on pit road Sunday night was 9.7 seconds. Just
it was outstanding. Their
to,
defensive ranking was bad because, if you score 6,000 points, you don't need to play any defense. So, I mean, that's basically what happened, right? He defended when he needed to defend at the end of the race, but when you're as fast as he was, I thought James called a great rate. Like they did I met with all 16 drivers last week, and they all kept saying we want to have a smooth week 1 into this week 1 into that week 1. And the 19 did that on steroids, right? They said, hey, we're not only going to execute, but we're going to execute better than everyone. We're going to take control of the race, and we're never going to let up control of the race. You said it, KP. The beauty of the playoffs or they get 2 weeks off of the pressure. And then we're going to reset, and they're right back in the frying pan. And that's kind of the beauty of this system.
KP, when you win a Southern 500 championship leader, are you circled as like championship 4? How do you feel that this kind of places the 19 group?
Listen, I think obviously yesterday, if you compare them against the competition, then yes, they moved to the top of, we have put our name on the list to be in Phoenix. They definitely did that. But I'm telling you, we see it so many times in this format, where it's 3 races, then regroup, 3 races, regroup, 3. And this is a spurt racing. This is a streak racing.
Yeah.
Someone can get on a streak. Have they hit their streak too soon? We've seen teams do that before. Hit their streak in the first and second round and have nothing left in the third and fourth round. And that's what I say. That's why I say you can look at a guy and we can line all these drivers up and their physical talent and their physical ability and the crew chiefs and everybody. But there's something inside here that sometimes when their back's against the wall, they reach a little different. We saw Chase reach a little bit deeper last year when their back was against the wall because SHR was going out of business. They wanted to leave a mark on that company, and he left it. We saw him reach a little different, deeper then. We've seen Joey Logano do it. We've seen some of those guys be able to do it. I'm not sure everybody of these 16 can do it. I'm just going to be honest. I don't think every one of those drivers has the heart to reach down and grab that championship. But I think Chase and those guys showed yesterday they could.
Steve, where do you see this 19 team as far as championship? Because, I mean, we had the chance to talk to all these drivers, but Chase specifically called his shot for the Southern 500. So is it championship or bust now for them, or how do you see them stack up?
I think that they don't get too far ahead of themselves, and I think I'm not going to get them too far ahead of myself. I have 6 or 7 teams that are all vying for spots in the top 8, and he was one of them before he won the Southern 500, and now he probably moves to the top of that list. By as impressive as it was, it's still just one step up a long staircase, right? And I think that's what makes that trophy in Phoenix so valuable, is that it is quite the ascent. You know, it isn't just one little splash. You know, and I think while he got himself the golden ticket, there are other big names that did what was needed. While it wasn't flashy, it was what was needed. And sometimes that's the key. You know, what data analytics will tell you is winning is most important. And he did that. So now the question is, you know, what does that look like moving forward? Look, I don't want to take anything away from him. The performance was great. And I know we're in the playoffs, but every once in a while, the race is bigger than kind of the scene it's in. Then to win a crown jewel. And, you know, I think there's a lot to this win. For me, he won the first time at Gibbs, and I can't wait to ask him this. And he said it almost wasn't great because he was expected to win. Well, he's the most nonchalant, non-stardom, deflect type of driver. Well, let me tell you what, pal, you have put yourself into the stratosphere, because he does wear Bass Pro on his chest, which some of the most famous guys in the sport have. It's a, you know, he has a lot of things going for him. And then to go down to a traditional race, a classic race, a crown jewel race, and put on a dominating performance, I don't think he's off anyone's radar anymore.
All right. Well, we've teed him up long enough. It is time to bring in our Southern 500 winner. He is advancing to the round of 12 in the NASCAR playoffs. He's led more laps on Sunday night than he has in 4 of his full Cup seasons prior. First driver to lead over 300 laps in a Southern 500 since Bobby Allison did it in 1971. And I want all of you watching at home to know that Southern 500 winners are just like us. Chase Briscoe, what took you so long to get in here? Tell everybody what you were doing this morning.
Yeah, I was Marissa went to the farmer's market to get some stuff for today, and yeah, so she just left me this morning with all 3 of them, and yeah, it was chaos. I obviously had to wait for her to get here so I could leave them. But yeah, then as soon as I left, they all started screaming and crying, of course. So apparently that's how it always is. When I'm here, I always tell her how great they are, but then when it's just her, they're always super bad. So yeah, it was an easy morning for me, but yeah, right now I don't think she's having an easy time.
That's the dad effect. That's the if you're the fun parent, they always want to be in a good mood when you're around. I want to talk about fun, because I know we talk playoffs and all of those things, but you have driven stuff your whole life. You and I have had conversations all year long about driving these Gibbs cars and how they drive different and how much grip they have and how much speed they have. Just talk about Darlington. The test is still very high, right? And the challenge is real. But how much fun was it to have a car like that at a track so treacherous?
It's super fun. You know, I've been on the other side, especially at the Southern 500, where when your car, it's already a long race. Like even for me, it was still a long feeling race, But whenever you're running 20th or worse and your car's not driving very good, it's a really long race. So yeah, it was. I mean, yeah, like you said, Darlington's still a challenge, right? Like it's still your car does things that you don't want it to do and whatnot. But for us, it definitely was a great night. It's fun whenever you have a car that has the capability and the speed that that one has, especially on the short run. That was kind of my strong suit is I was so good for the first 20 to 25 laps of a run. I could just honestly do anything I wanted. It was just the long run that was my struggle, and that's kind of how the end of the race obviously played out with the long run. I knew I was going to be in trouble, but was able to obviously hold them off.
Hey, listen, my granddad ran the very first race there in 1950. My dad's been going there since he was 13 years old. So this is not just a crown jewel. It may be the crown jewel when you talk to guys like my dad and guys that used to win races there and guys that have raced there for so long. I want to see what you think about the history aspect. There's only been eight of you guys that have won back to back, and that's on a list of guys with Bobby Allison and Cale Yarborough and David Pearson and Dale Earnhardt and Jeff Gordon, guys like that. Has the historic part of that kind of sunk in? Because what you did is something nobody else has done. You did it with two different teams, back to back, two different brands of cars. I mean, so many things were different. The position you were in last year with Stuart Haas Racing, the position you're in with JGR, has that part of it, have you taken that? Has that sunk in yet?
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I mean, just when I look at the names and the faces on the trophy alone, just it's legend after legend and Hall of Famer after Hall of Famer, and then the fact that there's only 8 people right that have won that race back to back, and now that I'm one of them. It's I mean, just the names you were just saying, right? I mean, it is a who's who, and I'm not even close to those guys. So it's just crazy the fact that my name will forever, I guess, be in the history books. But yeah, it's just it's unbelievable anytime you can win at Darlington, and to do it back to back was certainly special.
So where do you go from here? The $1 million question for me is I would love to win the first race of the round, right? But now you still have to go to St. Louis and Bristol. They're not bye weeks, right? You just don't get to jump to the round of 12. You still have to compete. Do you it's not an effort question, but it's like as a driver, do you just say, hey, St. Louis? And do you stay in your rhythm and do what you do during the week and prepare like you have all year long and just go to St. Louis? Do you start looking ahead? Do you move your shift forward? Like, what is the preparation now that you kind of have advanced already into the round of 12?
Yeah, I don't think the prep work changes. And honestly, it didn't change for Darlington. Like James and myself have still yet to have a single conversation about the playoffs. We just act like it was another week, and we didn't change our process. We didn't do anything different, and I feel like it'll be the same, this weekend. We'll just go do our normal week and, prepare for it the best we can. If it's enough, it'll be enough. And yeah, I think, it definitely creates some opportunities for us to go and do some things different, from a strategy standpoint. If you can try to steal stage or be, a bigger gamble, I guess, where if you are still in a points racing position, you can't take some of those bigger gambles. But with us now, at least for these next 2 races, we can, gamble a little bit more, which will be nice. Playoff points are a huge thing for the rounds going forward. And that was, the thing I was probably the most excited for last night. I wasn't really, I mean, I'm happy that we're locked into the round of 12, but I feel like if we did our job, we should lock into the round of 12 anyways on points. But I mean, we basically doubled our playoff points. We went from 10 to 17 last night. So that was, to me, the biggest win in last night for sure.
All right, CB, we appreciate you joining us here. I know it's been an exciting time for this team, and I know you're looking forward to Gateway, but I hope Marissa got you some like celebratory tomatoes and cucumbers and fruit and whatever else she can get you at the farmer's market. So enjoy the 3 kiddos. Yeah. Congratulations, and thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, that's great. The farmer's market trip for sure. He's also, for those that didn't get to see the end of the race, his boy Brooks, now he has wall art for the rest of his life
so
as a little kid standing on the roof of the car at the Southern 500 with his one finger in the air. That'll be hanging in the frat house. That video is going to be a highlight, and as he gets to his 20s, it's going to continue to haunt him because everybody's going to like, look how cute you were when you were a little kid. It was an unbelievable moment.
I always love looking at the little kids as they grow up in the garage, and you guys know this just as well as I do. But it's like I don't think you understand how cool your dad is. Like
Right.
this is such a
Oh,
cool
look,
moment as
we
a
were talking
kid.
to the son of the king, and he's like, "Oh yeah,
Yeah,
although I'm gonna
exactly.
give Kyle credit. He's the only guy I know that even Kyle, he's like, because Dale Jr. will be this way. It's like, my pops. I'm like, okay, stop. Your pops is Dale Sr. You got to give a little context to that.
Yeah,
And Kyle,
exactly.
he's at least the one guy who's like, the king. Even Kyle's like, he's just the king.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to listen. You have to acknowledge that no matter what, no matter we were doing something one day, and somebody said, "Hey, you only won a few races," and I said, "Yeah, but I've been to victory lane a lot more than anybody else. A
No, I
lot
love
more
it.
than anybody
I
else."
love it.
Mic drop, KV. I love it. All right. So obviously, that's the plus side of the Southern 500. There can only be one person that makes it to victory lane there on Sunday night, and that was the 19 of Chase Briscoe. They have punched their ticket into the round of 12 to the next round of the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs. But let's dive into the rest of the playoff field because, woof. It was a Southern 500 of disaster for a lot of our playoff drivers. I think we could spend less amount of time talking about who had a positive night versus who had a negative night or a disastrous night there in Darlington. So we're going to start with this incident on lap 1. Steve, you're in the booth. You're calling this race. Let's look back at Josh Berry, Tyler Reddick, this contact. Lap 1 in the Southern 500. We're already talking under caution.
Well, so when we talk about just trying to get a smooth start to the races, anything but. So when I look back at the Southern 500, there were a few guys that had good days, pit crew disasters, driver mistakes. This right here, I put on the team and the crew. The 21, you see the smoke out the back, hits the ground, spins, hits the 45. Jeff Burton called the 45 save the save of the year. Right here, coming at you sideways, so sideways the roof flap came up. It ended the 21's day. Surprised it wasn't a bigger wreck, but this is a driver and a team that really can't afford this. He now finds himself, 19 below? He's by no means out of it, but it's going to be a big recovery for sure for the 21. Bowman, we started to show his pit stop as well. I have a bigger problem with what happened to Bowman, to be quite honest, because what happened to the 21, I call this racing. Like that's racing, right, Kyle? Sometimes racing gets in the way. But when you come down pit road and your air guns come unplugged, what? Like how? Like someone even asked me on the air right there, like, how's that happen? I'm like, I don't know, but that would be a very good question for Monday. How you possibly have air gun come unplugged on the second pit stop of the race?
Yeah, going back to Tyler Reddick, KP, his third runner-up finish at Darlington in the last 8 races. How much do you think the damage on lap 1 though affected the 45?
That's a great question. It's obviously it affected it some, especially, and I thought NBC did a great job of zooming in on the roof flap with the cloth on the outside, the arrow part of it. I think they did that. The wheel mark on the door, I'm not sure about it. And I don't think a lot affects Tyler Reddick. Let me just be real clear about that. He just gets up on the wheel and just drives. Whatever it feels like, he just drives it. But I do think, for me, watching what went on at Richmond, watching what went on at Daytona for Tyler, I think this kind of stops the bleeding for that team. This gives them something to hang their hat on. No matter what, it gave them a little bit of something to hang their hat on. And I'm with Steve. I am fascinated that the 21 car of Josh Berry can be sideways, backwards, spin all the way around, down across the racetrack, and nobody runs into him. That was on the start of a race when everybody is so bunched up. That could have been a huge wreck, a huge disaster, because they were the second row for almost every one of the championship contenders. So it was pretty fascinating to watch this thing. And listen, I think Josh Berry and those guys have to come out of this race and say, "Hey, we're only minus 19. Yeah. We were in the garage area on lap 3, and we're only minus 19." They've got to take some solace in that and say, okay, let's go do something these next 2 races.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but Josh Berry did get a playoff point for the fastest lap, correct?
Oh, don't.
Yeah,
please don't. Please don't.
I'm going to throw the BS flag all day on that rule. They need to change
lap 114, how?
So, hold on. It was his lap 114, which was like lap 250-something in the race because he was 125 laps behind. God. And, this is a problem. I love the Xfinity support. I love the Xfinity fastest lap. I just think it needs to be a lead lap award. I'm okay if you want to give away a point. Now, look, let me just flip it. Miles Stanley and our man Josh Berry, I'm going to give him credit. I gave credit to the 5, who's done it a couple times at the road courses. Yeah. The 21 probably aired the tires up, probably left the fuel out of it, ran a light lap. Good for that's 1 point. If we leave Bristol and Josh Berry advances by a point, that lap that everybody else ignored that they went out and got, that could mean something. So hey, you know, if you don't like the game, that's fine, but don't hate the guy who operates within it.
Yeah, yeah.
I want to look at
that's a fact. Listen, the rule needs to be changed, but they need to take advantage of the rule when they can take advantage of it right now.
Yep. I want to look at the drivers as we break down this race and continue to talk about Sunday night. The playoff drivers who received no stage points in the opening stage of stage 1. The 9 of Chase Elliott, the 22 of Joey Logano, the 24 of William Byron, the 3 of Austin Dillon, the 48 of Alex Bowman, and the 21 of Josh Berry. Steve, which one of those names is like, wait, what?
The Byron one for sure, because I thought he had the race-winning car in the spring and got behind on the stages. So that's the one that shocked me. And so Bowman qualified poorly. Logano just didn't have a great. I mean, they were okay, just okay, really all day long. The 9, very just okay. They weren't great in practice, okay in the long run. I thought they were going to be okay. But for Willie B, you know, he had race-winning speed there the first time. And so I would have just thought that the 24 was going to be able to get it. And the worst part for William Byron is he was right there the whole time. 11th stage 1, 10th stage 2, then 21st in the race. So, you know, I think it was mission accomplished because he's going to leave there 25 points above. But it was this left front wheel that fell off that really doomed his finishing position. That cost him 10 points in the end because I think he was going to run about 10th until he gave up his track position. Really, it was the day of pit road. I think that's the story for me.
Yes.
The story for me is, other than the Berry driving incident, which I don't put completely on him because we just showed it, he was on the ground. Most everything else was on pit road, pit stops, running into each other on pit road, which shocks me because these pit crews are more athlete based than ever. And we talk about it as in like, you know, physical attributes. But the other part would be the mental preparation, right? So like how, why, I don't have the answer of why, but there was more catastrophic issues on pit road for playoff drivers than I remember in recent years, KP. It was just, I don't know if it was the pressure, the moment, the setting, or what it was, but something was amiss.
Yeah, there was something. And listen, I look at this and you're looking at Hocevar and Bell running into each other. The communication was off on these teams. The mental prep seemed to be off on these teams because no matter, even when you drop the jack, that's just a mental lapse. When something happens and you're caught and your hoses are undone, that's a mental lapse. Okay, somebody didn't check, somebody didn't backfill, somebody didn't double, triple check. In this game, you've got to be on top of that all day long. You've got to be top of. You expect that driver to. We on the outside watching the race, you expect that driver to never make a mistake, and when he does, it's like, oh my gosh, what just happened? That's what happened on pit road yesterday. And I was fascinated that guys who could run and could have had solid top 5s, solid top 10s, relegated themselves to solid 15th, solid 21st, solid 17th, whatever it may be. And it's what did Chase say? We're the top loser or the
top
whatever
last.
it was. Yeah, I mean that's basically where they took themselves. And I agree with Steve. I look at Willie B, at William Byron, and say that's the one. I looked at those other teams and I think they've been mediocre in a lot of ways. And mediocre seems to be the word that we've been popping around here. They've been mediocre through the year. William Byron is a championship caliber team. Rudy is a championship caliber crew chief. They have put in championship caliber performances. And yesterday, just as we talked earlier about Chase Briscoe and James reaching down a little bit deeper and grabbing something and doing something with it, Willie B and them just left it on the table and said, no, we're just going to go out and do what we did. And they became mediocre yesterday, and they can't have another mediocre race in these.
So that's the thing. I agree with everything you said, but I think the most important part for me is that they aren't behind. Like, I agree they can't have another one.
Yeah.
But their regular season performance allowed them an okay one.
Yes.
Like they did okay. And I know no one loves okay. Like everyone loves Briscoe. Everyone wants to be Briscoe. Everyone wants to win. That's what you want to do. But look, you don't have to win. Like you don't have to win yet. Yeah. And I thought what William Byron did, while disappointing, glass half empty in some aspects, and Alex, you asked it very well, which is what, like not scoring stage points, glass half empty. But what if the 24 gets all the way onto the racetrack with the left front loose? What if the tire rolls onto the racetrack and they lose 2 crew members? Yeah. They get penalized multiple laps. Like, you know, I think that's my point is
Could have been worse.
This just
Yeah.
proves
Oh,
what
yes.
the regular season
Yes.
does, right, Alex?
Yeah.
Like that's the difference. This just is a versus an SVG, right?
Sure.
So he used his mulligan in a race that I thought he really needed to not use his mulligan because I thought
Yeah.
everybody else had trouble, right? And he's around right at the cut line. I think the task is even taller for the 88. I love their strategy. I know people were eye rolling. I actually like running long. There was a small window where caution couldn't happen, and that's what happened. And it ended up costing him about 15 spots.
Yeah, SVG sits right there in the 12th position. He lost 13 on Sunday night in the Southern 500. Frustrated on the radio. He was like, I can't drive this car. What is happening? I hope it gets better. Obviously, we know the track changes, the temperature changes. It's a long race. You're chasing the track, all interesting things. But let's also go now on a segment we like to call Pit Box here on Inside the Race, because I personally feel like the turning point in the race for a lot of our playoff drivers, Hocevar spins on lap 152. 10 of our playoff drivers are in the top 11. 5 of them had issues on pit road 2 laps later. And when I say 5 of them, Hamlin, bad stop on lap 152. He is a Darlington phenom. He does so well at that racetrack. It basically put him way back in the back of the pack and didn't have the same night then. Christopher Bell obviously had the collision on pit road with Carson Hocevar. Bubba Wallace had a slow stop on lap 151. Blaney got jammed on pit road on lap 154. What in the world, KP, did you see on lap 154 of this race that just determined the rest of the playoff guys?
The same thing Steve was talking about earlier. Massive mistakes. Just a mental letdown, like you weren't prepared. It's kind of like, and when I was on a pit crew, and Steve has done this before. When I was on a pit crew and you're standing on the wall and suddenly you look up and your car's coming down pit road and there's been no communication and you don't know what tires to put on and what to do, whether he's got a flat or whatever. We used to just panic on pit road. And that's what a lot of this looked like. Honestly, it looked like controlled panic because as they went through the motions, but there was always something just about a half a bubble off from keeping it level. There was just enough to slow these pit stops down. And we saw Denny when they went through there, they dropped the wedge wrench. They were so many different things. One thing led to another that led to another that led to another. And, why it all came at one time, it was like the winds of fate blew down pit road. And these were the guys that just happened to be on pit road.
I mean, look at this. This looks like the Bad News Bears.
Yeah.
This is crazy to me.
This looks like a fire drill at a red light right here. No, you, no, who, what, you, no, oh, you. I mean, it's like the internet's glitching on the 48's pit stop. I mean, this thing is unbelievable. What are we watching? Under green, mind you. Crazy to me how this can happen. And I'm going to tell you, this is every crew chief and every competition director and every team president's just fear because there are too many moving parts. A crew chief can't touch everything. You try to put systems in place to try to prevent everything we just saw. And this is a system breakdown. Over pit wall, human aspect. The reason we love this is because it's a human game. We can talk about cars and technology, but in the end, we're cheering on humans. And when you're expected to change 4 tires, you listed them. What was it? The slowest one, Alex, was 10 seconds, right? For the 19 car. Yep. So when you start doing something in 9.5 seconds, you just, I don't want to say hope it goes well, but you prepare to have the least amount of mistakes as possible. But the fundamental breakdowns are the one that gets me, right? It's the air hose getting unplugged. It is the 20 clearing out into the 77 and tearing his front splitter off. Like those are right here. There was some radio. The 23 has some issue with the 38. Like there were some fundamental breakdowns that at race 27, those should be cleaned up by now. And those are the ones that would concern me more than the other. Like the over pit wall thing. Look, it's hard. There's a reason I'm not a pit crew guy, right? This stuff's hard.
Yeah, and Steve and I, we had this conversation a little bit before we even started doing this today is, we grew up at a time where the car coming in had the right of way. The car coming in, you sat in your box, the guy coming in, because there were moving parts, as Steve said, the car coming in is going to land in his box and there's guys out around it. From a safety aspect, that car had the right of way. Yesterday, we saw guys pull up to a 4-way stop and give each other hand motions on who should go first and who should go next or what should I do. And that's why we got so many people running into each other on pit road is because nobody seemed to know what was going on pit road. And that is those are safety issues, and that they're going to have to be addressed at some point in time. But who's making that call? Is it the spotter? Is it the crew chief? Who is communicating to the driver to go, 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 and who's not? Because we see that with loose wheels. We see it with so many other things.
Before we take a look at the 4 drivers that are below the cut line heading into Gateway next week, I want to also I'm not trying to kick a horse while it's down, but only 4 playoff drivers finished in the top 10. It's the fewest in a playoff opening race ever. It was just a not great night for our playoff drivers, but one that I have circled that's an interesting topic for me. He didn't have a great night. He didn't have a bad night. He had a night. The 5 of Kyle Larson. Steve, what did you make of the 5 in Darlington?
I don't know if this is the new 5 car or if this is the old 5 car. I really don't know. I spent some time with Cliff Daniels about sunrise early Saturday morning. I was down on pit road checking some things out, and he was coming into the garage. And, you know, his tone, as it normally is, was very much a general going into the battle, right? And he was a little bit cold about the details, but that he wasn't as concerned about their performance as some of us in the media have been. And I actually think that he's going to look at this as he needed to do a little bit better job with the car, maybe, but that they didn't completely fumble. So I'm going to give this an off night for Kyle Larson, and he's still plus 38. So KP, not panicking yet.
No.
But if we run 20th at St. Louis, you know, Bristol, whatever, I think he could run in reverse in my SUV and probably win Bristol. I mean, a guy's like Mr. Bristol. But this isn't a round of 16 team. Like, we're not talking about this guy advancing out of the round of 16. We're talking about, can he make the championship 4, right? Kyle Larson, the question is, can he get the Phoenix? I haven't seen it in the last few months. So raw speed concern. Surprising in a night of crappy execution. I thought their execution was okay. They just didn't have the raw speed, which is like the inverse of Kyle Larson's existence.
Yeah. I don't think we've seen, I just don't think we've seen the Kyle Larson since May that we
Tear
saw.
the Band-Aid off, KP. Don't you're trying to be nice. I'm with you. I'll support you.
Listen, since we did the double, triple, quadruple backflip at Indy and all this stuff here, whatever we've done, we've just not seen Larson and them run. Now, having said that, I want to clarify something here. I think we got into this a number of years ago at the last couple of years of Jimmy Johnson's career. He just didn't run like Jimmy Johnson had run. Kyle Larson's just not running like Kyle Larson used to run. He's still having solid runs. He's still having solid performances. But we expect so much from Kyle Larson. Our standard for Kyle Larson is somewhere way up here. Way up here. He should be high, wide, and handsome in the championship groove, bouncing off the walls, passing people when there's not enough room for a car. That's what we expect. We don't see Kyle Larson. We don't expect to see Kyle Larson do some things that he did yesterday that I thought was really pretty smart from Kyle Larson. His car wasn't where it needed to be, and when somebody would catch him, he would let him go and pick back up the pace. He didn't fight for a position. He didn't worry about it. That's Mark Martin-esque. You know what I mean? Take what you've got, go to the house with it. And that's what he did. And they had a good day when it could have been a horrendous day if he had tried to press. It could have been a horrendous day for so many other reasons, but he had a good day. But again, I think to get Kyle Larson, for me, to get Kyle Larson to Phoenix, I want to see some of those days where he just laps the field 6 times. I want to see some of those days where he's challenging for the lead. I want to see some of those days where we used to see him run and we used to see him do that magic, and we've not seen any magic since May. And I don't know if he left it in Indy or he left it somewhere else, but he needs to backtrack and try to figure out where it's at and bring it back for these last 8 or 9 races.
So for me, it's real simple. Next week is a Phoenix preview. It's a high-speed flat track. It's a little like New Hampshire, but more like Phoenix, really high-speed flat track with some shifting and some awkward corners. I'm looking ahead when I watch next week. But if Kyle Larson doesn't have to win, but if he is in a top 3 car, I don't mean top 5, I don't mean top 7. If he is not a top 3 car at Bristol, then we're going to have to put his picture on the milk carton.
Yeah, that's
because
right.
Something has gone. Like magic, that would be a major concern. Because that is his Mecca. That is the place where he regardless of who he drove for, the rules, the tires, it doesn't matter. He is unreal there. So if he isn't a dominant, he don't have to win, Kyle, because there's a lot of ways to lose him.
That's right. That's right.
But we're just talking raw speed. If he doesn't have Kyle Larson speed, then I'm going to start to be really concerned.
Here's what I say, and you couldn't have said it any better. That was perfect, Steve. He needs to get a look at a win. He needs to get a look. And when they throw the checkered flag, he can see it. He needs to get a look at that. And we've not seen him get a look at that in a while.
And I'll tell you, if you're the competitor, I think if you beat him at Bristol, that can do some stuff. Because, as much as we're all concerned, if he goes and leads 350 laps and wins at Bristol, I'm not sure you want to wake that dragon up.
No. Yeah. Dangerous dragon to wake up from the castle. D'Lo, can we show the standings following the Southern 500 again? All right, so let's take a look. Kyle Larson obviously sits in third. He somehow gained 12 on Sunday night. So not a bad day for the 5. Agree with Steve. If it's not lights out at Bristol, something's wrong, and Cliff Daniels needs to take a look. Right now, obviously, Chase Briscoe advances, Denny Hamlin, Kyle Larson, but I want to get into our playoff pressure cooker here. We're going to break down these bottom 4 drivers that are below the cut line entering World Wide Technology Raceway. We're looking at the reigning champ, Joey Logano, Austin Dillon, Alex Bowman, Josh Berry. What has been going on with these?
It's your turn. We've done all the analyzing we're going to do. Very simple. Here you go, Alex.
Yeah.
Berry, Bowman, Dillon, Logano. Are those 4 out? If not, who joins them?
The only ones that I would flip, and I'm only saying this because Gateway is this Sunday and Logano is good there. The only one I would flip would be SVG with Logano. But if not, those are my 4 out.
I agree completely. I think that Berry, Bowman, and Dillon have had good years. I just don't see the raw power unless somebody above. I agree that Logano, the Fords, the Penske Fords should be really good next week. Plus, they know how to manufacture finishes. So SVG. I will tell you that I don't think it's going to happen, but the 10th and 11th place drivers need to kind of mind their P's and Q's a little bit. Like, I think they have the ability and they should advance. And I'm not trying to jinx anyone, but, Chase Elliott kind of maintained and Bell quietly lost 6 points with the damage on pit road. Bell won't perform his way out of the playoffs, but, splitter damage at Bristol here and then get caught up in somebody's mess here. And then, next thing you know, you're in quicksand. But I think your analysis is dead on. SVG and Logano, those are the 2 I would swap. KP, any disagreement?
No disagreement. I think we were talking about it earlier too, Steve, and I think when you went to get a coffee, we were talking about. I think if you talk to Racing Resources, or Racing Insights, excuse me, if you talk to Bert and Ernie, when you are below that cut line, when you're below that cut line in the first race of all these rounds, it's tough to break out of there without a win. It's tough to point your way forward because it's easy to lose points in this system. It's incredibly hard to gain. And you mentioned William Byron earlier. Finished 11th in one segment, finished 10th in one segment, got 1 point. Listen, 1 point, no points. If you're hovering right along in there, man, you just got to protect yourself as you go back to Chase Elliott and Christopher Bell. You got to mind your P's and Q's and not try to make something that's not there. Just take what it gives you and go into the house, because I think they will point themselves ahead and go on from there. But as you look at it, I just listen. I'm going to be honest and say that Joey Logano, the way they have run recently, could be out in the first round. And that's almost unfathomable to think about that. As you look at a previous champion being out in the first round, we've seen it before, but I'm just saying this. I didn't expect it at this point in time, especially the way Blaney's run and the way he's been running lately from this team. This team has been, again, mediocre at best for the last 7 or 8 races.
Which means Joey Logano will win at Gateway this Sunday.
Right. Well, yeah.
I'm a huge Joey fan. Yeah. Everybody knows I'm a huge Joey fan. So I put on my 22 stuff every week and sit on the couch and look like Tom Cruise jumping up and down on it whenever he's doing something. So I'm constantly a Joey fan, but man, I want to see them get a look at a win. They've not had a look at a top 4 or top 5, it seems like. They've put themselves in that position with Paul Wolfe, and Joey has put that car on his back, but you can only carry a car so far. And we're back to the playoffs now where everybody picks up the pace, and you've got to pick it up too. if there's
Yeah.
anything there.
Yeah, Stevie, you brought up a great point. D'Lo, pull those standings up one last time, I promise. But he talked about the 10th and 11th seed drivers, which is Christopher Bell and Chase Elliott. I just want to remind you folks that if they have nights like they had on Sunday, we might be in a dangerous situation. Chase Elliott finished in stage 1 19th, 21 in stage 2. He finished the race 17th. 0 stage points, 0 end of race points. Christopher Bell, he finished, where did he go? He finished 7th. So we got some points in stage 1, 27th in stage 2, and then finished 29th in the race. So there are some drivers that the rebound needs to happen pretty quickly, and it needs to happen like Sunday at Worldwide.
I agree.
personal opinion.
They just have to stop the slide.
Yeah.
There were
Yeah.
some winners, though. There were some winners other than
Yes.
Briscoe.
Let's
Oh,
get
yeah.
into it. Your weekend winners. Who you got, Stevie?
A quiet run, very impressive. I'm going to give 23 Bubba Wallace.
Nice.
He gets
I
my
like it.
winning trophy. 5th in stage 1, 7th in stage 2, 6th in the race. He won at the Brickyard, and I think we all forget like his wheel came off of Richmond. You want to talk about pit stops? Literally came off on pit road. He maybe could have upset Austin Dillon. Him and Reddick were probably the two that had a chance. Boss man was in the house. Everything talked about Reddick because he was right there in the picture. But I think Bubba Wallace, this is a driver that's always on the cut line. Well, he won a couple weeks before the playoffs, and he always goes to Bristol on the cut line. Like he just is doing what is necessary. That to me is a big win out of the 23 camp.
KP, who's your weekend winner?
You know, listen, I'm going to look at Ross Chastain. I'm going to look at Bubba.
Yeah.
Bubba's a great winner. I look at those guys that were just there, that had solid days. Listen, Bubba, I'm going to be honest. Bubba scared me a little bit early in the race. I thought he was incredibly aggressive in that first segment a couple of times for it to have a race like Darlington. But then he kind of found his pace, and he got it done down there. I thought Ross Chastain at different times put themselves in position. And when you came out and we want to talk about Bowman and everything that went on. We want to talk about Berry and everything that went on. We want to talk about Chase Briscoe and Reddick. If we're not talking about you, you had a good day. You had a good day. If we have not mentioned your name, you had a good day. You're a winner just like Briscoe is, because that's kind of the way it is. It's that middle group that just went down there and got it done in a quiet way, didn't really gain anything, didn't really lose anything, but they lived to fight another day. And chances are, because of Darlington, they're going to live to fight another day in the round of 12.
Yeah, so my weekend winner is Toyota as a whole. 3 different Toyota teams finished in the top 3. It's the first time in history they've ever done that. Toyota led all but 16 laps. Chevy and Ford had every single playoff driver shut out of the top 10. It was only Toyota that finished the race in the top 10. So for me, it was they get the winner, they get the second place finish. They have Bubba Wallace. And then I also want to dive, before we close here, on the best race that you missed, because we like to highlight folks. Obviously, Chase Briscoe is getting all the kudos, but this is another Toyota team for me. It's Legacy Motor Club. Eric Jones is just lights out at Darlington. If you want to study how to be a driver at Darlington Raceway, watch some Eric Jones film. It was his best finish of the season. And then John Hunter Nemechek, his best Cup finish ever in 4th. Steve, what did you see out of Legacy last night?
So I've had some conversations with the group over at Legacy, and they explained that, hey, we don't try to get better every single week because we don't think we advance enough. So we kind of circle some weeks on the calendar. Indianapolis was one of them where they were both very, very fast. Then they kind of went back to that Legacy that we understand. And then I expected the 43, to your point, to be good because Eric Jones, the course is for horses, and this is his place. But
yeah.
So I'm more impressed that John Hunter was right there with him, which tells me that, A, Eric Jones is still good here. And whether it's equipment or John Hunter leaning on his teammate, I don't know what it is. But for an organization to improve with both cars, KP, you've been a team owner, you've been teammate. They didn't just come run good with the guy that, quote, should have.
Yeah.
They ran good with both cars. I think that's what makes it more impressive.
Yeah, and I do too. I think that the two cars running nose to tail and finishing right with each other, that's impressive. And you talk about leaning on each other. We know, we've all heard the stories of Jimmy Johnson leaning on Jeff Gordon at Martinsville to understand what it took to get around Martinsville. But I think there's certain racetracks, when you talk about Eric Jones, that drivers just, from the first time they run there, they're like, oh, this is my place. And I've seen it at Darlington in my lifetime with 2 other guys. Terry Labonte showed up at Darlington, took the rookie test, and that's when they used to have a rookie test, and the powers that be had to stand up on top and judge whether you could race there or not. Took the rookie test and just blistered the place. His first few years, he was just a contender every time he showed up. Lake Speed, a name we don't mention much on any show anywhere, showed up at Darlington and could get around that place like nobody's business. We've seen guys like Denny Hamlin go to Pocono, a place that's tricky, and just dominate from the time he's a rookie. It just, for some reason, the marks, the way you pick up the throttle, the way you get into the corner, it just matches your rhythm, your internal rhythm. And I think that's what we see with Eric Jones. It just matches what he's looking for with a car. The team knows it, as we heard Steve say, so they capitalize on it. They come with a little bit better car. They come with a little bit better stuff. And they focus on it. And when you can leave there and you've got a 3rd and 4th place finish for the organization, that's what you hope for. That's what you capitalize on. We've seen other teams put all their eggs in baskets and not come out as good as this team did. But Legacy has made some great progress over the last year to 18 months with Toyota. And I think Eric has been a big part of that too, what he does on the racetrack.
I'll throw another 2 names out there, and shame on us because I don't think I mentioned them from the booth all night. But I'm going to say Zane Smith and Noah Gregson in 13th and 14th. And what I mean by that is 31st and 22nd in stage 1, 24th and 14th in stage 2. So they finished the best at the end of the race. We talk about the task and we talk Darlington and all of these things. Well, then we have a very young driver base. And, look, no one's going to write a story about 13th and 14th. They're not going to hang a banner in the shop about 13th and 14th. But you don't become the 19 of Joe Gibbs Racing without some 13th and 14ths. And I just think that's worth pointing out. You build organizations around a lot of things, and some of them are steps. And I think this is a step. And I've seen this a few different times now to front row now, where with these younger drivers, maybe they start a little slow. I think some of it is what you just said, Kyle. Like, I'm not sure Noah or Zane can go run in practice and say, oh, this is what my car has to do to start the race better. So I just think it takes them longer, but they are where young drivers should be making mistakes. They're somehow getting it to the finish and improving. So, it's not a participation ribbon, but it's also not a number 1 ribbon. It's kind of in the middle.
Okay. So just as long as we're giving shout outs to 13th and 14th and the young guys, let's give a shout out to the 5th place Dinger and the Chevy. The only guy, the only guy in a bow tie to jump out there. So let's give a shout out to the old guys too. Great run for that organization too. So I got to give them that, man. That is, they just got in there and capitalized on everything that went their way, and they had a good day out of it. So I'm going to give him a shout out.
I think the positive for me that we've mentioned all these teams, none of these guys are playoff drivers. It's nice for me to see teams that still show up to the racetrack wanting to compete. There's a lot on the line. Sponsors, your partners that are in the sport, the men and women that work at the organization, they're all still running the rest of the season. It may not be for a championship, but really, really nice to see some teams have some good days there, especially at a racetrack like Darlington Raceway. All right, KP, you're the guest. So closing thoughts on the Southern 500 as we turn the page to Gateway this week.
Listen, I look at the Southern 500, and like I said, my granddad ran the first race. My dad's been going there since he was 13. He was there yesterday, sitting on top of a truck.
You look good yesterday. Up and down stairs.
Yeah, he was there getting it done yesterday. And, we so much history there. But I think when we have a race, when the Cup Series has a race, when NASCAR has a race, when NBC puts on a race like we saw yesterday, you don't showcase this sport any better than what we saw yesterday. With everything that went on pit road, with everything that went on the racetrack, to come down and have that last 10 or 15 laps and have guys closing in, have guys have a shot at a win, things could have been totally different if one guy had made one mistake, and nobody made a mistake. It showed the caliber of drivers, showed the caliber of the event, showed the caliber of what NASCAR racing can be. So for me, it was a great Southern 500 and should be a showcase for the sport.
Letarte, your closing thoughts.
So I'm going to pretend that I'm on social media, which means you can make statements that you don't have to defend or make any sense, and it can be in the land of make-believe. That's what social media has become.
And they're all true. They're all true. Everything's true on the internet.
So here's my land of make-believe. I believe, it should stay on Labor Day weekend, and it is a Southern 500 and all that. But dare I say,
I know
what a championship race it would be if we green flag the championship race at the
I'll
Southern
clap for this.
500.
I'm glad for this.
Right? Like,
Where
I
do
can
we
live in
ha-
my own little world of 140 characters where I don't have to defend it. So I'm just going to say that I think Darlington, the venue, and the venue alone, though I don't even need the history, just the venue would be perhaps an outstanding test for the champion.
NASCAR Awards, Myrtle
I'm
Beach. Here
I'm
we
retweeting
come.
that right now, Steve. So it's out there.
You
I'm
can send
just
it out there. You can
retweeting
send
it.
it out there. It doesn't even need to be fact checked. You can just
He'll
put it right
don't
out there.
worry, Casey. He'll clip this part and put it out there. That way it's true in the universe. And we're going to Darlington for the championship. No, my closing thoughts in this race. I thought it gave everything that you wanted in a Southern 500. Darlington, such an incredible place. And then I also think that it is fun to show up at the racetrack when you know you're racing for a championship. It just feels different. Folks are different mindsets. They don't talk to each other as much. The competition is ramped up. It feels like the postseason. So I had a lot of fun Sunday at Darlington. So excited to see what the rest of this round holds. We have some names on there. It'll be interesting to see how the dominoes fall. But on behalf of myself, Kyle Petty, Steve Letarte, thanks so much for joining us on NASCAR Inside the Race. Enjoy Sunday at World Wide Technology Raceway. We'll see you right back here to break it all down on Inside the Race.